way!
I'm so sorry, Johnny Ryan. I was rooting for that one.
I
to be
thought
this
for
one.
sure that this was going to be the Johnny Ryan because I'm
Darn
like,
it.
oh, this is the sort of flavor that you can only get out of like a specialty handcrafted thing.
No.
Wow!
Man,
this is great. Oh
Well-
man, we might have ourselves the shocker upset favorite here.
And yet another shocking upset came right on its heels when another North Carolina-based grocery chain, Food Lion, narrowly edged out Diet Pepsi with its Diet Cola. You heard that right. The North Carolina-based supermarket Food Lion, which you've probably never heard of, has a Diet Cola that was capable of edging out the Diet Pepsi in our very highly scientific test that we're running here today. I was shocked. Well done, North Carolina. Way to represent. So it was a strong finish in the first round for our regional grocery chains, with Food Lion and Harris Teeter both pulling out surprise victories, but plenty of big names still made it through as well. Coke and Pepsi each sent 2 products to the second round, and with SodaStream and Diet Sam's Cola also in the mix, it was anybody's guess as to who would be named Top Pop.
What do you call it, Steph?
I'm soda.
Soda versus
You
pop.
grew up as pop.
I grew up as a pop man. Up in the Midwest, we call it pop.
Well, here in the South, it's all universally Coke. So you go into a restaurant and they'd be like, what kind of Coke do you want? And you'd be like, I want Dr. Pepper.
You guys down here in the South are just chaotic. Yeah, let us know what you are. Are you pop, soda, Coke, or something else?
Or other.
In the second round, both Coke products walked through easy wins. Coke Zero was decidedly tastier than Diet Sam's Club, and Diet Coke was a slam dunk against SodaStream, no questions asked. The matchup between Diet Pepsi Caffeine Free, or as a normal human would call it, Caffeine Free Diet Pepsi, and Pepsi Zero was close, but in the end, Steph and I chose Diet Pepsi Caffeine Free as the winner. But the second round matchup that really delivered was the Battle of the South. Harris Teeter Diet Cola versus Food.
This is really good.
So is this one.
These are really good. Both of these, I wish both of these could go through because I think that both would have a chance at taking out some of the heavier hitters. I am shocked by the strength of the store brands of some of these southern grocery stores.
Yeah, they're really good. And I'm sure that these are also like extremely similar, if not exactly the same as other regional grocery stores. So I guess just based on how far these both have made it through the brackets is like, don't be put off by the store brand. Like, they are really good sometimes. You just have to try them.
Right, you just have to give it a try. The generic, the store brand, whatever, totally legit. I am shocked because one has this very unique, again, it has that weird, interesting fruity blend that none of the other ones have. It has a really great flavor to it.
You said number 1 is your favorite?
1 is the favorite.
Harris Teeter.
This is Harris Teeter.
Yeah, and you said it's because it's fruity?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to spoil things for you,
Yeah.
so I can hold it, but there's a difference in ingredients between the two.
Ooh.
Really?
Does
What
it
is-
have citric acid? Yeah.
Really, it's the citric acid. So, so this is Harris Teeter. So Harris Teeter moves on.
You know, it's the same difference that we found between Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks.
Citric acid
Makes such a big difference,
Really
apparently.
makes a huge. It's also the thing that made a huge difference with the KFC episode.
Citric acid just runs our worlds. We don't even know it.
Citric acid is like the magic ingredient in all of these recipes. This is really good, guys. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
This could take it.
And with that, our final 4 was set. First up was Diet Coke versus caffeine-free Diet Pepsi. As soon as the 2 samples touched my lips, I could tell which was which. I also knew I preferred Diet Coke, but I kept that to myself and sat back and let Steph decide her favorite between the 2, just to make sure I wasn't bringing my own bias to the table.
Okay, then I'll go first. I prefer number 1.
Diet Coke wins
Wow.
it. Oh man.
Wow.
Moving on to the
no.
finals.
The other Final Four matchup was our Cinderella story. 13-seed Harris Teeter Diet Cola versus 3rd-seeded perennial powerhouse Coke Zero. And unlike the previous round, Steph and I didn't see eye to eye. I definitely preferred cup number 1, and she definitely preferred cup number 2. Eventually, we decided to rock, paper, scissors for it.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no!
We didn't find this out until later, but cup number 1 was Harris Teeter, and number 2 was Coke Zero. So, weirdly enough, I wasn't even fighting for a Coke product here. Just wanted to mention that because I'm a little proud of myself for staying objective.
Neither of us are budging. Here, let me convince you. Here, sample it one more time, Stephanie.
Nope, I've made my choice.
After 6 6 consecutive rock, paper, scissors ties, we took it as a sign from the universe and opted to have a round. Diet Coke versus Harris Teeter Diet Cola, the underdog, versus Coke Zero. To be honest, at this point late in the day, we'd tested these finalist colas so many times their identities were pretty obvious to us as soon as they hit our tongues.
1. Very mild.
Yeah.
Good.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
It's Diet Coke.
It's fine.
It's Diet Coke. You can tell, I know. It's that fountain Diet Coke. 2. It's got that fruitiness on the bottom.
It does, you know?
It
That's
does.
nice.
It's real nice.
It's nice. Kind of like it.
It's real good. 3. For whatever reason, the Coke Zero, which usually reads as a really sugary to me, is less sugary this time. Yeah.
Stand by my Coke Zero. Number 3. Bloke Coke. Give it to me.
So Steph, you're going with number 3?
Number 3.
Number 3 is my number 3 place. 2 is the best. In my Diet Coke addled brain, it has the most interesting flavor while still maintaining the Diet Cola thing that I just live for. It's that fruitiness that's in it. It's that added little like bump at the back end of it that's really delicious and is so unique and interesting and not chemically flat. It doesn't taste too chemically, it doesn't taste too sweet. It is without question. Like it blows my mind.
Are you hearing this?
No joke, and this is totally behind the scenes, just to give you guys an idea of where this was not on the list as of this morning. This was supposed to be Diet Coke Splenda, but they didn't sell it in any stores even remotely near us. I went out to the local Harris Teeter, and this was the one thing that they had, and I'm like, we need one filler slot here, let me grab it. And it has shockingly bested everyone in this competition.
I don't even have a joke for that. I can't believe that.
That is not for the memes, that's not for the views, that's not clickbait. Like, I am as shocked as you are. This is my favorite diet soda.
What? What?
Now, I realize the result isn't exactly helpful to a lot of you theorists out there. After all, Harris Teeter is a small regional grocery chain, and if you don't live along the US Eastern Seaboard, it's gonna be tough to get. So we did some digging into Harris Teeter brand soda, and here's the skinny. Being a relatively small chain, Harris Teeter doesn't have their own food processing or manufacturing. Instead, they do what a lot of grocery stores do and slap their logo on white label products, or as grocery stores prefer to call them, private label products. This probably merits its own food theory episode in the future, but basically there are factories that quietly produce similar or even identical food products for multiple brands. So the store brand spaghetti at one grocery store might be exactly the same and come from the same factory as the store brand spaghetti sold at the competitor's store. Heck, the more expensive brand name spaghetti might actually be from the same factory too. And the same goes for sodas. Now in 2013, Harris Teeter merged with and became a subsidiary of the much larger retail company Kroger. While Harris Teeter is too small to manufacture their own food products, Kroger operates, quote, 35 food processing or manufacturing facilities. So here's some homework for all the theorists out there looking to find the best Diet Cola in their area. Check out white label sodas from these Kroger-owned stores listed on their website. I can't prove it without taking a sizable road trip, but I have a sneaking suspicion that some of these stores like Kroger's, Fred Meyer's, Ralph's, Fry's, and Food for Less might actually be selling the exact same white label soda as Harris Teeter, but with a different label on it. Be sure to let me know down in the comments. I am really curious to know if Kroger is secretly supplying us all with the most delicious Diet Cola the world has ever tasted. So there you have it, theorists. I set out today looking to get the truth, and I think I found it. Look, there's always going to be a special place in my heart for Diet Coke, and let's not overlook the fact that it had a strong showing today. It was both my and Steph's second place choice. But if and when I get back on the soda bandwagon, I'll be stocking up on the tastier and considerably cheaper, I might add, Harris Teeter Diet Cola. Though I gotta say, after the amount of soda we ingested today, might be a while before Steph or I ever pick up a soda again. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. Thanks for watching, theorists. I just ingested twice my body weight in soda for your entertainment. How about a click of that subscribe button in return? Steph and I are always running new food experiments here on the Food Theory channel. Some of them are actually useful, and others are, well, sometimes they're just for fun. Like last week's episode on Panera Bread Bowl gloves. Yep, you heard that right. They're gloves made of bread. I'm not gonna say that we regret making the episode, but you'll probably regret if you don't watch it. That link's on screen right now. And I'll see you all next week. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, where when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, but when life hands you small green leaves from Asia, you make tea. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year. The weather's getting colder, the nights are getting longer, and we all have our favorite hot drink that we like to cuddle up on the couch with. Sometimes it's coffee, sometimes it's hot cocoa, but if you're one special member of Team Theorists, my wife Steph, it's almost certainly gonna be a cup of freshly brewed tea. No exaggeration, she's going through like 3 or 4 cups a day.
Probably 3 to 4 cups of tea a day.
See, I'm not making this stuff up. No joke, the dishwasher is just full of tea mugs, which is like, what you doing, Steph? Just rinse them out. Save the actual space in there for stuff that's hard to wash. Sorry, am I getting a little bit too real for you? Anyway, if you watch our channels, you know by now that we're optimizers. We want to use data and testing to give us the best possible experiences in all parts of our life, and that includes our warm leaf water. So today, we're in the kitchen breaking down the elements of this simple drink to give you the perfect cup of tea. Do seemingly arbitrary steps, the water or the milk goes into the cup first, actually result in a noticeably different tasting tea? And perhaps most importantly of all, if there is a detectable difference, what's the objectively best way to prepare your tea? Bottoms up, theorists! It's time to get this party started. Sorry if that joke wasn't high enough quality. Even I feel a little bit guilty about that one. Drink up, friends, because today is going to be full of highbrow drinks with lowbrow puns.
Today is going to be my favorite episode of Food Theory, maybe ever. It's going to be tea-rific.
And while Steph is certainly our local tea expert,
I am steeped in the stuff.
You could say that she is queen tea.
I'm practically fermented myself.
there was one thing that she lacked, the international perspective. She merely adopted tea, but others, they were born in it, molded by it. We needed someone British.
So, Tom, you being from the UK, obviously you know tea. That is part of your curriculum. You have reading, writing, arithmetic, and tea.
Yes, it is a specialty of ours.
Tom's usually heading up things over in game theory land, where the closest he gets to food is writing about mutant cows with Happy Meat Farms ARG, or cannibalism in the visual novel Cooking Companions. Let's just say this is a nice change of pace for him. So with our crack team assembled, we dove into our investigation. Now, how us Americans make tea can be a bit of a controversial topic, especially for people coming from the UK. So to get things started, I pulled out this gem of a video from @JShell36, an American woman that's living over in the UK who demonstrated how she makes her afternoon tea. And let's just say I'm using some heavy air quotes with that word.
I'm curious, since we have a resident UK expert here, we have some American families making British tea, and I'd love your opinion.
I can't imagine this ever possibly going wrong.
No, this is going to be entirely factual. Here you go.
To fill our mug with water.
Yep. You need help?
No, that's all right. No. Why are you going in the microwave? Why would you do that?
No, what milk?
Whoa!
What? No, that's so much milk!
No, that's so much milk!
just white.
Oh no!
It's a video that went viral in the UK as people became so outraged that even national newspapers reported on it. So of course, I had myself a bright idea.
Let's do a taste test, shall we?
Yes.
I think we start off with Tom making his proper British cup of tea.
Okay.
Since you feel very strongly about
I-
that.
I do.
And I will make TikTok tea.
And I will taste both.
And we got to work.
I mean, seeing the way he functions in the kitchen makes this an even more like weird multiverse situation that I'm dealing with between this one and this one.
How does one open this bag?
Just so we've covered our bases, at this point it's important to know that there are a ton of different teas out there in the world, ranging in areas from Japan to South Africa. But today we're collectively lifting our pinkies only to the classic British. And that means that we're going to exclusively be talking about and testing black tea, most of which originally comes from this little corner of India right here called the Assam region. The preparation of traditional British tea typically involves using water boiled in a kettle and immediately combined with tea directly into a teapot. Before serving, milk was historically added to the bottom of the teacup, tea was poured on top, swirl, and boom, you're done. This was the classy tea that Tom set out to make. Meanwhile, I was relegated to shoveling sugar into my cup for my TikTok tea.
I would just like to point out that they're still trying to open the tea bag. My microwave is all done with heated water, so right now TikTok tea is looking pretty good. What? Ooh, that is Why is the handle so hot?
The time it takes to heal those third-degree burns gives us time to finish the proper British tea.
Now I pour the milk in. Drop it.
That tea bag is so sad to be in there. He's like, no.
Why am I here? Why am I here?
After a few minor burns, it was time to taste.
No.
Not a shocker, we determined that TikTok is better for spilling the tea than actually drinking the tea. Meanwhile, Tom's baseline British tea tasted nice. It was fine.
There we are.
Such a British reaction. Anyway, I still wasn't satisfied. It's not enough to just say that TikTok tea is lame and any old tea bag you throw around can beat it. Anyone can do that. This channel is built on the premise that I can overthink anything and then write it off as a business expense. So if we're gonna make tea, we're gonna be making the best tea. And to do that, we have to build the best cup of tea from the ground up using science. So what we decided to do was break down all the variables that go into a cup of tea so we could test them one at a time. First, what's the best shape and material for your tea bags, if any? Secondly, we gotta talk about milk. How much milk should you be putting into your tea? Third, order of events. Should you put hot water in the cup first or cool milk? Fourth, how long should you be steeping your tea for? And lastly, what's the best vessel to hold onto your tea? Does your cup actually make a difference in your tasting experience? Oh boy, we're gonna make a lot of Brits mad at us for this one. Looks like leaves aren't the only thing in hot water today. Take it away, live action Matt Pat.
So first off, I want to just ask the question of, hey, you got the flat paper tea bags.
You have the pyramidal tea bags.
And you've got loose leaf tea.
Right, so which of these is ultimately going to lead you to a better?
I'm so sorry. I accidentally gripped
So to eliminate all other variables, we're using 3 identical mugs. We've heated the water to the ideal temperature for black tea specifically, and we're gonna steep them all for exactly 3 minutes. So everyone, tea bags at the ready, or tea baubles at the ready. 3, 2, 1, dip. And now we wait for 3 minutes, and I sweep up the loose leaf tea that Tom just flung across the kitchen.
I flung it at him, actually, to be fair.
So while Tom and Steph watch me clean up their mess, let me explain why this one factor alone may be more important here than you think. Tea leaves actually have permeable membranes, which means that when you add hot water, that hot water can essentially go through the leaves in a process called osmosis, allowing the chemicals that give tea its signature aroma and flavor, flavonols and polyphenols, to infuse with the water. 3D pyramid-shaped tea bags are supposed to be better for this particular process, as it gives the tea leaves more room to move around during the brewing process. This allows water to permeate the leaves from all sides. Flat tea bags, meanwhile, don't expand, stopping the tea leaves from infusing properly and leaving you with a dense glob of wet leaf mush. But that can't really make that big of a difference, right?
You can tell that there's just a color difference by looking at them. It's crazy.
The flavor of the tea is good. It's mild. It's nice.
Yep, so immediately that's better.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's shockingly, there is a clear difference between paper and the loose leaf. Just like you would expect off of the color, this one is by far the strongest.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's
Yep.
a very clear flavor difference.
So interesting.
This is wild. I did not expect this to
Oh
make a
wow, yeah,
difference.
no, that is. Oh,
It's
wow.
much stronger.
Right.
And once again, I was left blown away by the results. Remember, we used the same amount of tea coming from the same brand of leaves, and still, the bag did indeed make a difference. The paper bag restricted the movement of leaves, so they just sat in a clump at the bottom, while the bauble and pyramid bag were nicely diffused. But when it came to overall taste, our winner was unanimous. In a surprise upset, the pyramid bag was everyone's favorite cup. Better diffused while still maintaining a strong but not overly tannin-filled flavor, which left us with one last serving vessel to test: teapots.
All right, now comes the battle of the champions, my friends. We've got pyramid bag versus teapot. Loosely floating around in there, steeping till its heart's content. Like a little sauna day for the tea leaves inside of the hot water.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
I mean, that's really what it is. They're going to the gym, they're stripping down into their skivvies, and they're hopping in with a bunch of the other, sweaty guys.
don't really want to think of my tea as sweaty.
And then I'm drinking what, the juice that's left at the end.
You're drinking the remnant pool water. Yeah.
Can you tell that we've already had too much tea and it's only experiment 1? Whew, boy, it was a long shoot day. Anyway, the point of doing this final experiment was to test our newest winner against the time-honored tradition of tea in a teapot. So we filled both our mug and teapot with the same amount of hot water, let them both steep for another 3 minutes,
Go, little buddies.
There it is.
Enjoy your gym time.
and then got to sipping. And while the flavor was largely the same, there was one unexpected difference.
It's hotter.
It's significantly hotter.
The tea in the mug was hotter. Brewing in the teapot had actually cooled the tea enough that it was sitting at a perfect sippable temperature.
Is that just due to the teapot and the fact that there's, more
I think
surface
so.
area?
No, but I think that's exactly it. I love it when food theory episodes completely take me off guard. Because I didn't expect this to make any sort of difference whatsoever. I thought these two would basically be equivalent, but there is a significant heat difference. So I think that ultimately seals the deal. The traditional way, the British way, is indeed the best.
It's almost like there's a reason it's been around for several hundred years.
Go figure. It's like they already optimized this thing years ago and we're just reiterating the fact. Those darn millennials always thinking they know better and trying to reinvent the system. Anyway, after round 1, pyramid bags and teapots were the big winners. So having figured out the optimal way to steep, it was time to measure the optimal time to steep. You see, brew time matters due to the release of those taste molecules named polyphenols, specifically the harder, stronger variants called tannins. Tannins are super bitter, which means the longer you let your tea brew, the more tannins that you're releasing into the drink. This is also why you shouldn't squeeze tea bags into the mug after you're done brewing. This directly releases concentrated tannic acid, which adds a bitter punch to your cup. So brewing tea is basically a balancing act of letting the leaves float around for long enough to get a good amount of flavor in there, but not having them soak for so long that they wind up doing the tea equivalent of peeing in the pool. So where does that inflection point sit? Well, the UK Tea Academy, which apparently is a thing, has 3 recommendations depending on the size of your tea leaves. Small particles like tea bags should steep for 1.5 to 2 3 minutes, and if you're talking about whole leaves, steep time. But we don't want ranges, we want exact.
Hello?
Hello, Brani.
Yeah?
Hello.
Yeah?
Okay. The food enough for dinner or not? I was worried that food little.
Should be enough for dinner.
Enough or not? If not enough, I will order food like that.
I don't know.
You see,
I don't know.
for dinner,
Okay.
so I can order. But if enough, okay, I maybe reach home around like 8:30, like yesterday.
Okay.
Should be same time. Should be same time with yesterday if no jam.
Okay.
Yesterday I come back from the boring. It's not jam. I come back from Batu yesterday.
Yeah.
Today I come back from no, yesterday I come back home from Batu. It's not jam.
Yeah?
But today I will come back from today. I'm not sure jam or not. But it should be 8:30. It should be 8:30 on the night. It should be like that. So I guess that if you have dinner at 7, right?
Yeah.
I scan like
Okay.
how is Meme?
Yeah, miss.
Hello.
She cry or not, Meme?
Hello.
You
Hello.
cry or not today?
No.
You cry or not today?
No.
No, sure.
I'm sure.
Okay. Are you good?
Yes.
Are you good?
Yes.
Okay, do homework, do homework.
I don't even have homework.
Take
We don't even have homework.
no homework?
No homework at
Oh
all.
my god. Okay, okay.
It's the second day of school.
Okay. So tomorrow still have the food for lunch or not in school. Check if Mama need to buy bread or not.
Okay.
Go check now.
Ugh.
Or not. Oh, but donut. I got donut only, right? But don't go for dumpling.
Yeah, I got muffin.
You want any bread?
No.
Donut and cupcakes.
What?
Donut and cupcakes.
That's literally what Mama just said just now.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Can I eat a cupcake?
Maybe.
Yeah, there's just the cupcake and donuts, just the cupcake and donuts.
Can I eat a cupcake because I'm hungry?
Then they want your cupcake or what? Or you want another cupcake?
Can I eat the one that we have right now?
Maybe I just want to eat the cupcake for now.
Can eat as much as you can. Chocolate Ferrero in the fridge you also can eat.
Thank you.
Don't do it, right?
Yes, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, bye.
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 No, don't do it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Wait a minute. No, don't do it. Just don't do it. I didn't even hit you. Yeah, you can try to frame everything. Everything's always up. Yeah, okay. So you did it. No, private. No.
Numbers, so we ran a round of experiments to steep the tea for 1, 3, and 5 minutes. With the new experiment set, we fired up the water for what we thought was gonna be an overall pointless endeavor.
You can tell that there's a very clear color difference between the 1 minute steep and the 3 minute steep. Between 3 and 5 though, not so much. Am I missing anything, guys?
I mean, there is a slight film, which is, there is a little bit here as well, but this is a little bit stronger and of varying varieties, it would seem, but that typically I would associate with an overbrewed tea.
I like it a lot better than
Yeah.
1 minute personally. 1 minute, great if you like weak tea. But
Yeah, that's way better.
it's
Yeah.
much better,
Way
right?
better.
And then finally, Tom thinks that this is going to be overbrewed because of that film. And I see the film that you're talking about.
Yeah, you can see it. It's like just little splotches on top.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that aftertaste is really bitter.
It's really strong.
That's, yeah.
Wow.
That makes sense.
In the end, as expected, 3 minutes was the perfect time, full of flavor, but without dipping into the bitter notes that tea can often have. But leaf soup is only half the ingredients. To make a true English tea, we have to add some milk. So how much milk you add to your tea is actually a bit tricky to find evidence for. The US-based tea company recommends that it should be 1 part milk to 4 parts tea. For an average mug of 240 milliliters, that's talking 48 milliliters of milk. That is a lot, especially when you compare that to your average tea drinker in the UK. One study done across the pond reported that, on average, tea drinkers would add the very scientific amount of a splash. The study found that a splash actually translated to about 5 milliliters of milk to a cup of tea. So that's 1 part milk for every 47 parts tea. As you can see, there is a huge difference between those numbers. So yet again, we put our conditions to the test. But we also mixed in a third contender, splitting the difference between the two by only using 26.5 milliliters. Sadly, I couldn't enjoy this part of tea time myself. I had some very important meetings to attend to.
I've got a merch meeting. I'll be back for the next test.
Anyway, I was glad to leave because apparently my thoughts on milk in tea were not appreciated by the room.
Also, can definitively say best milk is no milk in tea.
Oh, get
So-
out.
so
Get
I'm
out of
giving-
here.
so I'm just
Go,
giving this-
go, go.
So, with the correct opinion ignored, Steph and Tom got to work, brewing up the 3 different cups, and right off the bat, the differences were clear. Looks, though, mean nothing if they don't taste good.
I like it, but it's not quite enough milk for me.
If you're adding milk to mellow it, that's not doing the job.
This is exactly what I expect from milk tea. Like, this is it. Maybe it'll be too much for you.
No, that's about right. That is typically how I'd have my tea, but that is, again, trying to put my personal preferences out the window and go,
Yeah.
right, was actually a better experience. That is definitely coming up above that, for sure.
Yeah, that one's a little too much for me.
Yeah, so you're starting to lose tea flavor once you get to this one.
And now we're getting into TikTok territory.
There we
when
go.
you
We're starting to
put
get, at least it's warmer.
48.
Once again, the middle option proved to be the best. So with 3 experiments out of the way, we were finally into the home stretch. A pyramid bag or teapot steeped for 3 minutes with a medium amount of milk. But wait, friends, we still weren't done with the milk. It's not just about the amount of milk, it's also about whether or not to put
Step forward and take charge of your kidney failure treatment.
Put that milk at the top or bottom of the cup. Honestly, I'd never heard this one before, but apparently putting milk in first was a thing in the early days of British tea drinking. Those who couldn't afford high-end porcelain would have cheaper cups to drink out of, and if you poured the boiling water into those cups, they would be more likely to chip or crack. Apparently, adding in chilled milk as the first thing in the cup helped to regulate the overall temperature and thereby protect the cup. Nowadays, though, we live in an age where mugs are just a dime a dozen. Seriously, these things are like rabbits multiplying in my cabinets. Every time I open up a cabinet, another 10 mugs fall out. So in this new modern age, should British tea be updating its traditions? Where should that milk be going? Or does it make a difference? It can't make a difference, right?
There really should not be a difference between
No,
There
there shouldn't be.
But once we took a sip, it immediately became clear that we were super wrong.
Huh. Interesting.
There's a difference.
Oh wow, there is.
Right?
Oh, what?
To make sure we weren't losing our minds, we did a blind survey of our preference and we unanimously agreed. Milk poured on top was the superior option.
There was a weird sour note I got from that one.
Yeah.
And this one was more bitter. This one was
Yeah.
smoother. You could taste the milk and also the tea.
Just smooth all the way down. This one just doesn't work as well
No.
as this one, which is crazy because it was literally just pouring the same thing on the top.
We've
Yeah.
also just upended the entire British history of tea of putting the milk in first.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
have.
buddy.
This is true. Like, the traditions need to stop.
I am actually really excited about that though, because this whole time we've been building up to basically the conclusion of like, hey, the British way is the right way, which,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, okay, fine, we bow to our overseas former overlords or whatever, great, here's our taxes. But no, this
There we go.
changes everything, so get dunked on, old school country. Science for the win.
Yeah.
Let this one hit all the headlines. You doing it wrong, son.
So far, what we've wrapped up is that actually you don't need to spend a huge amount of time thinking about the order and what type of tea you're using. As long as you're using a pyramid-shaped tea bag with a decent quality of tea, you just boil your water, make sure it's not the microwave, steep your tea for 3 minutes.
Yeah, perfect.
Add 26 milliliters of milk on top, just splash it on in
There you go.
and you're done.
That's it.
The perfect cup of tea.
That one made us really excited. Not only had we thrown off centuries of British tea tradition, but it had also put us into the last phase of our grand experiment. Having perfected everything about the liquid inside the glass, it was now time to question the glass itself. What is the best thing to drink tea out of?
So the final possible variable that we can think up here is delivery vessel. I told you, this is going into the minutia of minutia because Stephanie takes this seriously and Tom's national pride is on the line. So I have no horse in this race. I just stand for scientific excellence.
This seems like something inconsequential, right? Don't worry about what kind of plate you're eating your food off of, so why with tea? Does it really make that big of a difference? Well, yeah, or at least that's what the science tells us. The Tea Box website in their series T101 states that the perfect vessel should be non-porous, as porous cups absorb flavors from anything that you're putting in them, so your tea's flavor could actually be affected by all the other teas or coffees that you've previously had inside of that mug. Additionally, cups with wider rims and thin cup walls are going to allow heat to escape faster and also won't retain as much aroma. And when you consider that 80% of what we taste comes from smell, that might be a significant factor.
On one side we have a china cup, which is sort of a classic, English teacup sort of deal. We have a glass cup, which is known for not leaching anything from the liquid or exchanging anything from the liquid at all. And then we have ceramic over here, which is going to be the most commonly used mug type.
I'm gonna use the smallest one and just do my best to pour that amount into the other two, so that way we can maintain as consistent as possible.
I just stand for scientific excellence.
After one final round of steeping, we were ready.
So we've got our 3 cups, all steeped, all milked. Now it's just time for them all to be tasted.
And believe it or not, but we had ourselves a first for this episode. There was no difference. It was the only variable that didn't affect flavor. What the glasses did affect, though, was heat.
For me, all 3 tasted identical.
Agree.
The difference was actually temperature-wise. This one was the coolest and easiest to drink immediately, whereas glass was the hottest. I'm assuming that actually relates to the fact that this one has the widest opening along the top, so you're getting more exposure for the surface area, thereby cooling it faster.
This is also insulated glass, which means when I touch
Billy gives the children watching. How'd you know that one kid? I'm not
Get ready, friend. Things are about to get
with that light that you bought it. You play it tug of war with your wrist. But the rope is your daughter.
I know I can't get out of here. You know I can't get out of here. It's not fun.
You wanna make it through the night. You wanna face like oh, you're so high. You rather go like a fool that's right. I'll run more than you will die. Save those special beauty.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory, where our humor is drier than our cooking appliances. That's right, baby. Unconventional cooking is back. Earlier this year, we showed you that it was indeed possible to use your laundry juice dryer to cook a steak. And not only steak, but also rinse and frozen pizza while drying your clothes. Best of all, I didn't get violently ill after the camera stopped rolling. Overall, I call that a without success. So why not test fate again? After all, comments exploded with your ideas on other unconventional cooking methods we can test out, which leads up to today. Today we're not just cooking all hilly-billy and throwing random food products into a dryer. Today we have a goal. We are creating a full-on multi-course meal complete with steak, seafood, vegetables, and some desserts. And all of it prepared with no oven, no top, and no sanity. In this episode 2 of our unconventional cooking series, we are asking the ultimate question: can your laundry room become your kitchen? If the dryer managed to replace the oven, is your stove top iron? Your steam machine with a washing machine? Your steamer with a steamer? They're named the same thing. And of course, today also marks the return of the dryer. It's the biggest waste of all. What are we waiting for, friends? All my home appliances aren't gonna ruin themselves. Let's get cooking. So in charting out our multi-course meal, we wanted to make something that Gordon Ramsay would be proud of. In total, we wanted to make 5 separate items: a nice seared steak, sous vide scallops, steamed green beans as a side dish, freshly churned butter, and a delicious ice creamy dessert. Because they would take the longest, we decided to start with the last 2, ice cream and butter. And to help us down the path of culinary excellence, we brought back out none other than our trusty dryer. But how do you make foods that need to be refrigerated inside of a device specifically built to heat things up? Well, you turn off the heat. Dryers have tumble cycles with 0 heat, meaning that all you're going to be left with is a bunch of churning action. And what things do you need to churn? Butter and ice cream.
I think this was Stephanie's